All right, after an extended legal battle lasting over 5 years, Nigeria has achieved a significant victory as the UK court has ruled in favor of halting the enforcement of the $11 billion, the $11.5 billion arbitration award awarded to Process and Industrial Development, P&ID. Reports gathered that Justice Robin Knowles of the Commercial Courts of England and Wales delivered the judgment via email, affirming Nigeria's argument that the gas processing contract, which led to the massive award, was procured through fraudulent means. In January 2017, a private arbitration tribunal had ordered Nigeria to pay $6.6 billion to P&ID, along with interest dating way back to March 2013. Now, with the interest rate set at 7%, this amount had escalated to over $11 billion by the time of the verdict. Oh well, let's talk about this, and let's talk about this victory and what the lessons that Nigeria should learn from this. We have joining us virtually, we have John Akerele, who is a public affairs commentator, and we do expect Chukwuma Okoro to join in this conversation as well. Well, we do understand that Chukwuma has joined in the conversation, and hopefully we'll have Charles Ideho also join in the conversation as time progresses. Oh well, let me start with Chukwuma on this one. Good morning to you, Chukwuma. Good morning to you, John. Chukwuma, now, tell us about what this judgment means to Nigeria and lessons that we should learn from this one. Chukwuma, please.
Good morning, Moses. Good morning, John, and good morning, viewers. We are in very interesting times in our country, Nigeria. This judgment, which is a victory to Nigeria, has once again shown us that we have the benefit of outsourcing our judiciary to outsiders to adjudicate for us on matters that border on our national life. This is not the first time, this is not the second time, nor is it the third time. Interestingly, we are even lucky to have outsourced this particular case to the UK. A lot of people don't understand the issue of P&D. Let me just give a short historical account. Coincidentally, the person at the center, most people don't know it, again, at the center of this drama is our own former Minister of Petroleum and Natural Resources, Mrs. Desiani Alison Madeke. When Desiani became the Petroleum Minister in 2010, she was moved from transport when Jonathan became president to petroleum. This company, Process and Industrial Development, a company that is registered in the British Virgin Islands with no known office, no website at that time, and no known address, brought an unsolicited proposal to the Nigerian government that they were going to build a gas facility somewhere in Cross River State, where the Nigerian government would be required to supply gas to P&ID, to the facility at no cost. What P&ID needed to do was to process the gas, take the liquefied natural gas as part of its profits, and then give Nigeria the lean gas that will have been used to fire thermal power stations. That was in 2010. As of 2012, P&D had not acquired any facility, land, to start construction. Before, let me say another thing. In the contract, they said that the laws governing this contract will be Nigerian laws, but that the arbitration will have its jurisdiction in London, in the United Kingdom. What kind of strange contract is that? They moved on. And by 2013, they had started making claims that Nigeria had defaulted and made a bogus claim of something like $850 million then. The case had not gone to arbitration. like 2 weeks before Diziani left, she made a classified memo to President Jonathan that, look, there is this case that has lingered for like some months, that the president needed to make an approval of the $850 million to be paid to this company so that the case would be settled quietly, because according to her, Nigeria didn't have a good case going forward. After like 10 days before Jonathan exited, Jonathan signed on the memo that he cannot at this moment approve that this memo should be given to the incoming government of General Buhari. That was how the case died down then. But it didn't die down apparently because P&D didn't rest. They started pursuing the case up until 2017, when they now went to the arbitration that awarded them $6.6 billion. And that if Nigeria defaulted in payment, it will accrue $1 million liability every day. And that was how it got to 11 point something billion dollars. That is the issue at core now. Now, the Nigerian lawyers that went for the arbitration didn't make any plea. They didn't bring out the fact that, look, this case had something to do with bribery and corruption, and that Nigerian government was not duly involved in negotiations of this contract. They kept quiet. And that was in 2017. Until yesterday, that Robin Knowles said, look, we have reviewed the whole of this case. And it does seem that there were elements of corruption, that there were elements of fraud in the way this contract was given. And now said he has put a stay on execution. That case has not ended. Let's be very mindful of that. The judge has three things to do: either quash it completely, review it and award a certain amount, or send it back to the tribunal. And this is what he's going to do in a few days' time. Now, it speaks to the whole orchestration of corruption in the years past. A company that didn't do anything is claiming $6.6 billion, and somebody is saying pay. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. Like I said, we are even lucky that this particular case was outsourced, because peradventure the arbitration was domiciled in Nigeria. It is possible, again, that the government would have been forced or compelled to pay such amount of money to individuals that were just portfolio carrying contractors that didn't know anything. P&Id doesn't have any expertise. Up until this moment, they don't even have a going contract in any part of the world concerning oil exploration or gas facilities construction. And it beats me how people can be so primitive. That people can be so primitive in trying to acquire wealth. What are you doing with this money when your kingsmen languish in poverty? In Bayelsa State, where the Ziani comes from, people defecate and drink from the same water that they used to cook, inside the same water. And somebody is carrying billions of dollars away from the country.
All right,
sometimes it beats me. I don't understand.
It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. If you try to think about it, you realize that it's unimaginable.
But then I think this is a win. So tell me the impact you think this has on Nigeria internationally.
The impact is that, of course, Nigeria, a former prime minister of the United Kingdom, described Nigeria as a fantastically corrupt country. And everything about us goes to speak to that. Everything about us speaks to that issue of Nigeria being a fantastically corrupt nation. I keep using the word outsourced. We have outsourced everything that belongs to us, especially the judiciary. People no longer take us serious. In the past few weeks that the Chicago State University released the details concerning the certificate of our president, Nigerians all over the world have come under intense scrutiny in whatever they do. At the borders, in airports, seaports, institutions, some institutions in the UK and in the US have started rejecting our certificates, putting intense scrutiny. Even when you are correct, even when you are right, they tend to, like CSU said, it's a Nigerian thing. I mean, what do they mean by it's a Nigerian thing? because we have become known as a corrupt people who forge practically everything. Our image is in tatters. Our image is in clear tatters. And the earlier we begin the step of redemption, the better for us, because the thing is deepening to the point that, I mean, with time, the green passport automatically means nothing to a lot of people, to a lot of countries.
All right.
While Ghana, South Africa, and other countries are getting visa waivers, visa on arrival, countries are putting more stringent measures on Nigerians visiting their country. What does this tell you about Nigeria? Our reputation is in tatters. Our image is in tatters. Even international summits, organizations, and whatever. It is a pity we have come this low in our national life.
All right then. John, let me quickly come to you now. John, now we know that it has been proven now that Nigeria as an entity is not, it wasn't deliberate. The action of Nigeria was not deliberate to defraud Nigerians in this case. How does this really impact on the view, how the world views Nigeria now, especially when you think about corruption and things related to it? John?
For me, Moses, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. We can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. So for me, I think it's a case that we should be very, very careful of. If, as a country, we cannot make some corrections on our own part, it speaks volume. Let me say good morning to you, good morning to our viewers, and good morning to Chukuma. Let me pick it from the last line Chukuma stopped. Presently, in this part of the world where I am, there is a Nigerian person who wants to convert our driver license, okay, from the Nigerian international driving permit. Most of I speak to you now, this is not gaslighting. I'm telling you what is happening presently. The lady IDP, international driving permit, was rejected.
Okay.
It was rejected. And when we say that there are some things that we should be careful of, there are some things that we should be mindful of because of our international reputation that is at stake. We are not saying it because of politics or because we hate the person that is the president. No, it's about how we are being perceived on the international scale, how the adverse effect it will have on all of us. And that's why we are crying out. Now, for the case of P&Id, what we can take home from there is that no matter how long the lie will run, a day will catch up with it. And that will also show you how endemic corruption is. That will also tell you that there are some prince of Persia, at the rear top there, who are also in connivance with some other people to defraud the country. And I think we should have a system, and that's what I keep saying. Once we have a system that can checkmate every other person, then we are on the right track. So for me, it's about that system that can checkmate people, that system that can curb corruption, that system that can always make sure that the best of the best take charge and have what they need to do. So that's just a lesson I think we should learn from it. Okay. And also our Supreme Court should also take a cue from this case that if you look at the mode of delivery of the judgment, it was delivered via email. So we should take some good points from it and learn in also ways that we also, adjudicate our own judgment and give our judgment to people.
Okay.
That court processes have moved from the era when people need to jump back the Supreme Court. These are things that can be, be done virtually and people can get the judgment wherever they are in the world.
Yeah.
And so also, people also should also look at it that this case of P&Id, there were so many technicalities, they were ignored because they see the substance of the matter. And that's why Nigeria can get justice for this case. And I think our Supreme Court also should pick a clue that in the case of the appeal before them, there will be so many technicalities, but rather they should not look at those technicalities, but look at the substance of the case before the Supreme Court.
Okay, John, so I'm going to ask you this question. How does this ruling affect the overall investment climate in Nigeria?
Well, that will also bring about skepticism as to what people will say about you as a country and as a people, the perception. So how do people, investors perceive you to be? And that's why we always talk about brand management and online reputation management. That is very important for us as a country.
Yeah.
What do people say about you? How do they see you? What do they say about you? And so these are things that we need to, to work against and correct.
All right then, Chukwuma. Now let me come back to you now. Chukwuma, we know that one time Shashore was fingered in this case. He's been vindicated now. How does that make you feel?
Well, I think Shashore happens to be the lucky one here. Apparently, he was meant to take the fall, but he was smart enough to wriggle out of it. And before you came to me, there's a question there's a comment you made when you were talking to John about Nigeria not being, how can I put it now? I want to rephrase it like that Nigeria was not aware.
Okay.
Let me just.
I don't even recall, but it's okay.
You don't recall, but you were like Nigeria was innocent in the case. But I don't believe that. As far as I'm concerned, this case was orchestrated from start to finish to defraud Nigeria. I give a historical rundown of this issue.
Yes, you have.
Right from when there was no tender. Are you aware that there was no tender for this contract? Against the Public Procurement Act, which stipulates that a tender, a contract of that magnitude must pass through a tender process. There must be pre-qualification. It must be advertised for a certain number of days in national dailies or in websites of the Bureau of Public Enterprise or the procurement arm of the government. There was no such thing. Portfolio carrying contractors just came and approached Nigeria and said, look, we can do this. Registered in the British Virgin Islands with no known office, no website has at that time, no ongoing contract of that nature, just a registered paper. They came. So to me, it was orchestrated. And you see, sometimes they try to rope in people innocently. Like I said, Shashore was very, very lucky to have wriggled out of this case. Because in 2017, when they went for the arbitration, the whole process took less than 3 hours, and an award was made. It calls to question the benefit of arbitration, because it's not done in an open court. It's done between parties who share a common interest. So it is very easy for one side to remain docile and allow the other to have the day. I think that was what happened. And Shashore, again, is lucky to have wriggled out of the whole thing. It points to the fact that probably he was just roped in and didn't know the rudiments of the deal. But as a senior advocate, he played smart and got himself out of the case.
That was good for him. Good for him.
Good for him.
Chukwuma, I have a question for you. Seeing that Nigeria won this case, what would have been Nigeria's fate if we had lost this case? Knowing fully well that Nigeria has other legal issues and then debts to pay, what do you think would have been our fate if we had lost this case, if it had gone south?
If you had lost this case, it's very simple. They will confiscate your money in the UK now and pay the person that won the case. It's as simple as that. They will have compelled you. Of course, the clauses of the law, which I'm not very versatile with, but will not depart from the fact that, look, if this case was awarded to P&D, they will go further to ensure that you pay. If you don't pay, they will confiscate one of your properties either in the UK or here. It has happened before and several times. And another implication is that Nigeria will have to cough out $11 billion. The other day, the federal government was crying that they don't have money to pay salaries. They don't have money to do anything. And what is the implication? Why they are saying that is to let you know that they are going to widen the tax net more and more to put in more people so that they can generate funds to service the bloated bureaucracy, to service their lavish lifestyle, to service their inordinate cravings. That is the implication. And at the end of the day, it boils down to the average Nigerian on the street. Because the federal government trying to curry favor from the legislators will not stop the purchase of 160 million vehicles. Put at how much? For 469,000, for 469 people, and go and pay P&Id. These people have very large egos. They have very large egos, so they must have to satisfy themselves first before they start talking about you. Probably they will give them because the arbitration was adjudicated in the UK. I don't know the clauses or the final points of the law, but probably they will have seized one of your national facilities like the LNG and say, okay, P&Id, you start taking proceeds from one of these facilities until the 11-point-something billion is paid off. And you know what that means for the Nigerian economy? That is staggering. That is falling precipitously every day. The dollar is at 1,250 naira to $1. The euro is how much? People can't do anything. Every other thing has been affected. Foodstuff is on the rise. Building materials, though the cement people have reduced, but every other thing is on the increase. So the implications will have been very dire for Nigeria. We are already in a dire situation. Imagine when we pull out 11-point-something billion from our national treasury to settle few individuals who will now start globetrotting and wear the recent suits, buy new yachts, wear the best perfumes and whatever.
That obviously would have been paid, from generation to generation. It would have been a generational thing. Nigerians would have been impoverished by that. Oh, well. Now, let me come to John now. John, we know that we have, and we can see this government do it, going from country to country looking for investors. Would you say that it is this quest for foreign investors to come develop the country that landed us in this case, the P&ID case? And if that be the case, what should we do differently, seeing how this one has played out?
Moses, there's something I need you to understand when you talk about foreign investment. The question we should ask ourselves is, who are the set of people who are going to woo investors in diaspora? What is the perception of those investors about our country? What do they read on the dailies, on the internet, when it comes to news coming out of the country? When they check our business section, what are the news coming out? When they check our index of ease of doing business, the index, what is the figure that they have? When they check our GDP, what statistics come at them on the system? Now, if they see that that is a country where the rule of law is swept under the carpet, that is a country where there are inconsistencies when it comes to governmental policies, that is a country where corruption, even criminals are the ones wearing Babarika and are being celebrated on the streets of Abuja and Lagos. You have shown them the kind of system you run. And so when they come, it is easy for them to bring up different kind of templates, to cheat the system. Because they know that he who is on the ground already fears no fall. And so I think for us at this point in time, there are so many lessons to be learned. One of the lessons we should learn is the fact that when you have corrupt practices, it devalues the nation, it devalues the currency of the nation, it impoverishes more and more generation, and increase your poverty level from multidimensional, to an epitomic level. And these are things that we should be careful of. Now, Moses, outside the shores of Nigeria, when you say you're a Nigerian, the first thing they ask is they should double check whatever documents you are submitting, even to your birth certificate. And that is so loud. It's so loud that even the deaf man can hear the loudness. And I think this administration should now look at it. What are some of the errors our heroes past have committed in terms of, inflating over-bloated finances, in terms of inflated budgets, in terms of budget padding? How can we correct some of these abnormalities and put our country on the right pedestal? These are some of the things we should check. Just like Chukuma said, how in a country, Moses, where is our sanity as a people? You complain that dollar is at 1,250 naira to a dollar. In that same country where it was 180 naira to a dollar before. In that same country, dollar now is at 1,250. And yet you have your representatives, senators, apportioning 160 million naira for SUV for one person. Do you know what 160 million naira will do in terms of construction of primary health care center? Do you know what it will do in terms of building new schools in that locality? Do you know what it will do? Do you know how many open market store you can construct with that 160 million naira? Do you know how many smaller vehicles that will purchase, that will ease of doing business in your constituency? And so when you look at some of these pronouncements and the realities, Moses, they do not match. And that's why each and every time I wake up in the morning, I shake it for my country. And I shake it for my country because we have leaders who are not looking at other areas of the world. Moses, I think we should always look at people who are moving forward in the world and learn from them. But in our own case as a country, we compare ourselves with the people who are backward. And we are saying, after all, we are better than Zambia. After all, we are better than Togo. Why not compare yourself with the likes of global economies that are doing well? Why not say, okay, you want to be like Tokyo in Japan? Why not say you want to be like Paris in France? Why not look at those people that are doing well in terms of their... Why not say, let's even emulate the South African, this African president who said he's not going to take salary for about 8 months, who refused to have a budget approved over $1.something billion for purchase of vehicles when there are existing vehicles. Why can't we take good clues from these people and show the world that indeed there's a renewed hope for Nigeria? Mostly what I'm seeing as right on ground now, there's no hope. Talk less of even renewing it. And that is why our political leaders at this point in time should go back to the drawing board and then call themselves to order. From the president to the vice president to the speaker of the House of Reps to the Senate president, and say all of these shenanigans that we do should calm down now, and let's really do that governance so that people can have the effect of dividend of democracy. That's what I think we should do at this point in time.
All right.
Thank you so much, Chukwuma Okoro and John Akerele.
No, I was going to ask Chukwuma the same question I just asked John before we wrap this up.
Okay.
Chukwuma, I was going to ask you, now the VP is in the US, to attend to a function and also woo investors. And since this administration came into office, they've been, wooing investors from around the world. My question now is, did Nigeria make itself vulnerable to the P&Id case by, its desire to woo investors from around the world, as against looking inwards and looking at companies that are here and seeing how companies that are here can work with the government to develop the other country?
Okay, Moses, I will go back to the issue of that P&Id. P&Id was, they didn't come as foreign investors. The whole thing was pre-planned for fraud. It's very clear. They didn't come. As I speak to you, in Cross River State,
do we make ourselves vulnerable when we go out there in search, like we're searching for investors? Does that make us vulnerable?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I would rather say that the people that go to woo foreign investors are simply globetrotting. They are not doing anything. They go there and sleep in fancy hotels and speak to one or two manufacturers. Moses, when investors have their antenna, they have their noses up, they know where to go to. They know where to go to. When Nigeria auctioned licenses for telecoms, nobody went to South Africa to poach MTN or V-Mobile. Nobody went to Zambia to woo Econet. You don't. Investors know where the action is, and that's where they go to. See, as an individual, I don't believe in foreign investment. You know why? Because the amount of money that we have here, if we sink those monies here, we can be better than any part of the world you can think of. Unfortunately, our leaders, past and present, have stolen us and are still stealing us to stupor. There's so much money stolen here that are outside, and they are using it to finance projects, finance businesses in Europe and in the US. It's only in exceptional cases that they will say, okay, there's an opening here. Let's show that there is transparency in our own environment. They push out $100 million to you and say, okay, this is what we recovered. Apart from that, there's so much stolen money. Moses, let me give you an example of Indonesia. You know Suharto? The Suharto family was reputed to have stolen so much money in Indonesia. They actually stole. And at that time, Time International, Time magazine, wrote something that Suharto stole and put the money somewhere in the UK or in the US. On top of my head, I can't remember. But in one of these countries. You know what happened? Suharto sued and said, if I have a pin outside Indonesia, I will pay Time International any amount of money it asks for. The case was adjudicated in London, and it was discovered that Suharto didn't have one thing outside of Indonesia. But he stole everything that he had, everything that the family took was put back there in Indonesia. He built, personally, a trans highway that covered from one end of the country to the other. And up till today, that road still serves as the major carriageway to any part of Indonesia you want to go to from Jakarta. That is how big it is. But here, people steal and build refineries in Brazil. People steal and build hospitals in South Africa. So you want Indians. How many Nigerians have gone to India to invest? India is an emerging economy as well. How many Nigerians have gone to India to invest? But there are Indians here doing one business or the other. And we have Chinese here. Mind you, the code for foreign direct investment is that you come, you build, you produce, and you transfer expertise, technical knowledge, so that over time, the indigenous people, the natives, can do exactly what they are doing. So that with time, you begin to relinquish some of your stakes in that particular state, in that particular facility. But it doesn't happen here. When they go to China, they say we have come to speak for Nigeria in the African Conference of China African meeting. What do? They go and bring people who come with portfolios. The next moment, they fly in goods from China. They're shipping goods from China. Oh, we have attracted foreign direct investment. That is not foreign direct investment. They come here to sell. They don't manufacture anything here. And when they do here, they bring the raw materials from their home country. They bring experts from their home country. So there is nothing to, did anybody come here to build Transcorp? No, it was built by Nigerians. We had few people that came here to build LNG. And after that, it's been handed over to Nigerians. I don't believe in foreign direct investment. Who developed Japan? It was Japanese, with small input from Americans. And over time, they had to modernize and made it a Japanese thing. That was exactly what happened to China too. You know, during the Mao Zedong era, when he had to close down, Chinese suffered, but it was Deng Xiaoping that now came and said, okay, we cannot remain like this. They had to open up a little, brought in a lot of Western ideas industrialize, and closing again. Now they are reaching out to every end of the world. And we are still going out to ask people to come and invest. What kind of investments are we talking about? We manufacture shoes in Aba. Do we need anybody to come and build industries in Aba for us here to manufacture exportable shoes? Do we need anybody to come and build rice mills for us here in the north so that we can export rice like Indonesia and Thailand do? I mean, I don't get the whole thing. It's so annoying. And to think that we have very informed economists who are in government. And I don't know what happens. Like, it's like when moment people get into government, they are sucked in by the system and they begin to behave as if we all went to school. I studied economics. I studied development studies in higher education at the master's level. I understand these things. And when people come out to give us sound bites, what is Shetima doing in the US? He has gone to look for foreign investors to come and do what exactly for us that we can't do for ourselves. If we don't have the expertise, we can buy. You don't need to produce turbines here. You can buy turbines and fix here so that you have light. What else do we need?
All right then.
I really don't understand.
All right then. Thank you very much, Chukwuma Okoro and John Akirile. But we'd like you to stay with us. All right.
And up next on VOP this morning, Supreme Court sets a judgment in Peter Obi's appeal against Tinubu. Details in a moment.
When your morning